Welcome back to New Day Northwest. My next guest is an educator who has developed gender-inclusive policies for school districts throughout the country. Aidan Key's new book, Trans Children in Today's Schools, offers a guide for supporting trans youth. And in doing so, Aidan hopes to deepen readers' understanding about what it means to be transgender. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
It is important to have a guidebook because I think so many people, even well-meaning people, don't know what to do, what to say, how to proceed. Why was it important to you to write this book? My learning by stepping into schools, working with them to address these questions. There's a lot of what ifs. You know, they're so young. What if they change their mind? How can they know who they are? This is a phase. Those are good questions to ask, and they're important to delve into, not set aside or say, well, let's just wait until they're 18. So being able to put that information in there. What I did with the book is, okay, people are asking this question, this one, this one, this one. And so boom, boom, boom. That's how I went about writing the book. You know, I know a lot of folks say it seems like there's an agenda, or it seems like there are more children than ever now who are identifying as transgender than ever before. You say that's not true. I know from my family's experience that it's also not true. Why is there that perception?
Because the presence of trans people is just more visible today. There's access to information much quicker. Families who search for information on the internet are actually having valid resources show up. And then that means the child and family and subsequently schools have language to describe their experiences.
What would you say, speaking of schools, are some of the biggest hurdles to gender inclusion when it comes to an education environment?
It's just a lack of experience, a lack of information. If none of us grew up having transgender children in our schools, in our classes, our teachers wouldn't know how to be gender inclusive. Teachers today are in a similar position. How do they know how to do it?
Right.
I think and I've experienced that these educators have the tools that they need. They do know how to do it. But there's a couple of questions that we need to take care of to get to that place. And including questions and concerns that come up from parents of other kids. Anyone and everyone. So let's address those questions. And then I watch the confidence and relief of these educators as they say, oh, that's it? I know how to do this. And they can get back to the business at hand, looking after those children.
You mentioned the other students. I have 2 elementary school kids, and I know that it gets, as they get older, harder and harder. I mean, these kids can be downright mean. Kids can be sometimes awful, but they can also be very malleable too, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting word, malleable. What I see is that these children, when they understand their own experiences, when they understand the experiences of their trans classmates, and it's presented to them in concrete and simple ways, they roll with it. They go, yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Joey's always been mostly a girl anyway, so it makes sense that she would want to be Joanna. And if we're having these conversations with kids at each grade level, then by the time they hit that bumpier middle school realm, that's their friends, their classmates. It's not
they're seeing the person.
Exactly.
And I think that's so important because I know a lot of it too is what the parents' reaction and the children, you know, no matter what, as parents, we should never react bigger than our child. We should just listen. You know, a lot of people could say, what do you know about this? What do you know about this whole world? And Aidan, you yourself transitioned from female to male 25 years ago.
Correct.
And this is something that you experienced yourself growing up.
Yeah, I didn't have language for it. I didn't have a way to describe my experience. I think that a lot of my family, my classmates, I think they recognized a gender difference in me, but we didn't have a way to describe it. And so that meant that I had to wait until I found that language, until I found those experiences described in others. And it was actually on a talk show. I saw a transgender man talking about his life.
He was on the show with his wife. He talked about his child and his journey. And that was, I don't know, late 90s.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, this aha, this something that I thought was impossible was now possible.
Yeah.
So hence that visibility
Yeah.
is crucial. We
It
have
is.
a lot greater visibility of trans lives and other gender diverse people's lives around us all the time now. Makes a difference.
So if it is making a difference, why do you think we're seeing so much legislation, all these bills in other states seeking to deny support and inclusion of trans youth?
Powerful question. So if we have a lack of information,
Yeah.
when we as humans, we have a tendency to be uncomfortable or apprehensive about what we don't know.
Yeah.
I believe, and I think exactly what is happening is that there are people who take advantage of that apprehension and provide us a lot of disinformation to actually increase fear rather than relieve it. And that fear motivates a political base. So unfortunately that's part of it. But what it also inspires is a tendency to ignore recommendations and guidance from the American Medical Association, American Psychology Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics. There's wisdom there, there's guidance there that says we need to support these children in their gender exploration for the best possible outcomes.
And your book has so many great resources for families. You've also, you know, we didn't get to talk to it, but you've done so much work with the Washington State Activities Association, creating the first nationwide gender inclusion policy in K-12 sports. And so these are just things that are happening every day and you're continuing to work on. And we thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for sharing this book.